WrestleMania 42 Sunday is in the books, which means the show is officially over and we have a lot to talk about, so let's jump straight into it. John Cena, the official host of WrestleMania 42, opened the show and referred to Night 1 as being incredible, which is not quite how I would describe it, but he went on to say that we are live on ESPN for the very first time and that we had to open the show with something big. He was of course referring to Femi versus Brock Lesnar, which was the first match on WrestleMania Sunday, and Oba made his way down to the ring to an incredible reception from the WWE Universe, who was singing his name, doing his strut. This guy is so over. In the early going, Brock was trying his very best to try and floor Femi, but all of his brutal clothesline attempts were simply just bouncing off him. After showing some initial frustration, Brock then did take control of the match after throwing Femi into the ring post and then into the steel steps on the outside of the ring. But despite being hit by an F5 in the middle of the ring, Femi slowly rose to his feet, showing signs of struggle, grabbed Brock Lesnar and lifted him up for a huge chokeslam before following up with a massive fall from grace to get the pinfall and defeat Brock Lesnar on the grandest stage of them all. What a performance this was from Femi. This was an absolute star-making showing from the ruler. He just put Brock Lesnar to bed in such a dominant fashion. Seriously guys, make him a world champion, like now. As you can imagine, this was a very short affair with the match lasting less than 6 minutes, but things took a drastic turn after the match, as Brock was sat in the centre of the ring and he started taking off his gloves. With a sense of dejection in his eyes, we then saw Brock unlace his boots and take them off in the middle of the ring, whilst he was literally breaking down in tears. I have never seen this man show this kind of emotion in my life, and it was so surreal. After leaving his gloves and boots in the middle of the ring, Brock threw up the X symbol to Paul Heyman, seemingly indicating that this was not a work and that this is legitimate, and the two had a really nice warm embrace in the ring, with both men showing a lot of emotion. And all this was happening while the stadium was chanting, "Thank you, Brock." This was kind of one of those moments that almost happened in slow motion because I could see it happening about 10 seconds before it did. I actually turned to my friend and said, actually, you know what, I wouldn't be surprised if Brock just calls it a day now. And now that I think about it, there is absolutely nobody more appropriate than Femi for Brock to put over on his way out the door. I think it's fair to say, based on what we saw, that Brock Lesnar has retired from professional wrestling. Whether this was planned or not, we don't know. There are plenty of people that think Brock literally just called an audible and did this on his own. But no matter what, I could make an entire video talking for ages about Brock Lesnar. And regardless of what you think of the man outside of the ring, inside of the ring, he has brought WWE a huge level of star power, legitimacy, and he does not get enough credit for just how talented of a professional wrestler that he is. So as a fan, thank you, Brock. We still do have that favour that Paul Heyman owes Gunther, which is the only shred of doubt I have in my mind that maybe Brock isn't quite done yet. And maybe we see Gunther force Paul Heyman to bring Brock Lesnar out of retirement for one last match at SummerSlam so he can be the one to put Brock into the ground. I wouldn't be surprised if this does happen, but equally I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't happen at all. This was an incorrect prediction for me, as I thought Brock was going to retire at SummerSlam and therefore go over here at WrestleMania, so that's 0 from 1 for me so far. The second match was the 6-man ladder match for the WWE Intercontinental Championship, and my god was this thing absolute chaos. This was such a fast-paced match, it felt like even if I took my eyes off the show for just a few seconds that I'd miss multiple spots. To nobody's surprise, Javon Evans had some crazy spots in this match, with Jade McDonagh at one point being up the ladder and Javon bouncing off the top rope, leaping through the air and clotheslining him off it. Dragon Lee took a 619 whilst he was sandwiched between a ladder. Penta launched Rey Mysterio over his shoulders into a West Coast pop onto Rusev, who was on the ring apron, and then subsequently went straight through the ladder on the outside. Jade took a Mexican Destroyer into a ladder that was propped between the ladder and the corner turnbuckle. But arguably the spot of the night is when Javon Evans absolutely catapulted himself off the top rope to hit Rusev with an OG cutter off a ladder. Penta, though, was able to take advantage of this and hit Javon with a Mexican Destroyer, climb the ladder, and claim his Intercontinental Championship to win the match. I had high expectations going into this match, and you know what? They completely blew them out of the water. This was a really, really entertaining professional wrestling match. I think we're all in agreement that a multi-man ladder match at WrestleMania is almost a must at this point. You cannot go wrong with this kind of match. I really appreciated the pace at which people were climbing the ladders as well. There was none of this over-the-top theatrical climbing where people are clearly act climbing and they're going way too slow and you just know they could climb up there. At the start of the match, People were racing up the ladders, and by the end people were struggling more, but still it was believable. It was a believable struggle whilst climbing the ladder, instead of the really dramatic, over the top, one rung at a time every 20 seconds sort of thing. And what a star-making performance from just 21-year-old Javon Evans as well. That boy is going to go far in this business. And at this point we were only 2 matches into night 2, and it's already blown away night 1. I did predict Penta to retain the championship here, so that is 1 out of 2 for me on the night. Sami Zayn then defended his United States Championship against Trick Williams. Sami made his way to the ring to a mixed reaction and definitely a flurry of boos, and Trick Williams entered the stadium alongside Lil Yachty, wearing what has got to be the longest jacket I've ever seen in my entire life. Go and check this out. It was literally streaking all the way down the entrance ramp. It looked like a giant piece of toilet paper. Sami was showing heel tendencies early on, taking a long time to break holds against the rope, as well as taking out Lil Yachty ringside. He tried to get the win by countout after he hit Trick Williams with a haluva kick against the barricade on the outside of the ring, but Trick was able to get back in the ring just before the count of 10. Lil Yachty then pulled Sami's neck down onto the ropes behind the referee's back, and Trick was able to follow that up by nailing Sami with a spinning kick, but Sami did kick out at 2. Despite this, Trick was able to hit Sami Zayn clean with a trick shot whilst Sami was running towards him in an attempt to hit him with a haluva kick, and this got him the pinfall, and Trick Williams is our brand new United States champion. For me, this match was shades of night 1. It didn't need to be a 30-minute classic, but this was definitely over too soon. This match was too short for me. Once again, I'm not really bothered about the result here. It just felt like this match was too short and the guys weren't given enough time to tell the story and showcase their talent, and maybe that's why they didn't actually pull the trigger on the double turn. It's looking like Trick is naturally turning babyface anyway, as is Sami Zayn turning heel, but I really thought they would have a definitive double turn here at WrestleMania, but that wasn't the case. This was another incorrect prediction from me, so I'm left now at 1 out of 3 for the evening so far. The Demon Finn Bálor then took on Dominik Mysterio in a match that Raw General Manager Adam Pearce turned into a street fight just hours before WrestleMania Sunday started. The Demon entrance was absolutely amazing as usual, and this was the first time that we've seen it in 3 years, as the last appearance of the Demon in WWE was his defeat to Edge in the Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania 39. Dom hit Finn with a 619 and followed it up with a frog splash, but Finn was able to kick out at 1, telling everyone that is not familiar with the Demon that this is a different kettle of fish. At one point, Dom threw Finn through a table that was propped up in the corner of the ring before smashing him in the back with a steel chair to set up another 619 attempt. He then wrapped the steel chair around Finn's head, hit him with a 619, smashing that steel chair right into his face. He followed that up with a frog splash, but Finn was able to kick out at 2. Both men got in some decent offense here, and there was some really violent use of weapons, with kendo sticks and steel chairs being used abundantly, with some really hard strikes. This match came to a close though when Finn Bálor wrapped a steel chair around Dominik Mysterio's face, hit him with a missile dropkick right into the corner of the ring before putting him through a table with a coup de grace to get the victory. This match was really enjoyable, albeit it could have gone a little bit longer, but it wasn't as ridiculously short as some of the other matches that we've seen on this card, and it did what it needed to do. It re-established the Demon as a final boss kind of character and introduced him to the audience that may not have seen him before, and it allowed Finn to get his retribution against Dominik Mysterio for throwing him out of the Judgment Day. This one I did predict correctly, so that is now 2 out of 4 for me so far. The penultimate match of the night saw WWE Women's Champion Jade Cargill defend her title against Rhea Bloody Ripley, and Jade as the champion actually made her entrance first, which I found quite curious. After an initial flurry from Rhea early on, Jade really started to take control of the match whilst Rhea was still inviting her on to attack. The two then traded blows, and Rhea's first attempt at a riptide was reversed by a clean hip toss. Rhea then had Jade in the corner of the ring prepped for a razor's edge, but inevitably B-Fab was able to save her whilst Michin had the referee distracted. It was only a matter of time before these two women got involved to try and help Jade, but thankfully Rhea's best friend in the world, Io Sky, came out to neutralise them both, which also actually distracted Jade as well. And the ending sequence of this match was really clean, as Rhea attempted to go for a riptide, but Jade was able to counter with a big boot, and as she went for Jaded, Rhea managed to do a really clean reversal straight into a riptide, smashing Jade into the ring mat and pinning her 1, 2, 3 to become the brand new WWE Women's Champion. This was another one of those matches that was a little bit shorter than it could have been maybe, but it didn't feel as ridiculously short as the matches on night one. This actually made Jade Cargill look really good, which is the first time I've seen her look this impressive in the ring in quite a long time. And I'm glad this match was able to be as entertaining as it was, as I really don't feel like the two women outside of the ring have that much chemistry with one another. It was definitely the right result because Jade Cargill's title reign has been absolutely awful. I'm glad to see Rhea Ripley now back with the World Championship, as it has been quite a while since we've seen her there, and there were some really nice scenes between Rhea and Io celebrating together at the end of the match. And as I've alluded to in a past video of mine, the inevitable split between Rhea Ripley and Io Sky is going to be absolutely heartbreaking because they're so cute together, complete best friends, and in the future at some point, whether it's 6 months, 12 months away, whatever it may be, maybe it's next year's WrestleMania match, I can see Rhea turning heel on Io Sky because she is yet to ever actually beat her one-on-one. But ultimately, Jade looked really good here. It was a great showing from both women, and it was the right result. This was another correct prediction from me, so that takes me to 3 out of 5. John Cena then made the standard attendance announcement for WrestleMania Sunday, which was 55,255, with an overall weekend attendance at WrestleMania 42 of 106,072. Cena then wanted to give a heartfelt thank you to the fans, but he was interrupted by The Miz, accompanied by Kit Wilson, who wanted a WrestleMania moment and was not going to leave the ring until he got it. Cena told him to go ahead and move to the corner of the ring, but as Miz could barely begin speaking, Danhausen's music hit and he drove down to the ring, accompanied by a whole array of Dwarfhausens. Danhausen said that he had something to say to John Cena. Everyone looked a bit nervous for a second, but as Danhausen made his way over to the greatest of all time, he shook his hand and said, "I'm a big fan, Hausen, I'm a big fan of your work." Then Kit Wilson shoved one of the dwarves on the floor, which caused one of the other ones to punch him in the nuts, and then all of the rest of the dwarves completely piled on Kit Wilson and rolled him out of the ring. Danhausen then hit The Miz in the nuts and followed it up with what I can only describe as a 5-knuckle shufflehausen, to the pleasure of John Cena, who was just stood there watching. This was a really funny and entertaining segment. Anything that Danhausen does at the moment just turns to pure gold, and it looked like that Cena genuinely cracked towards the end there, as he said that retired life is good. This then took us to the main event of WrestleMania Sunday, which saw the World Heavyweight Champion CM Punk defend his championship against the OTC Roman Reigns. And where on earth do we begin with this match? Roman Reigns made a grandiose entrance with live drums and a piano being played before his old school head of the table theme hit, which was already a really early sign that things may be over for CM Punk. The animosity between the two was clear to see from the start, with both men trying to one-up each other early doors. This match was given a lot of room to breathe, and it really showed as this match built and built as it went on, as all good pro wrestling matches should. At one point, Punk was perched on the top rope and ready to jump onto Roman Reigns, who was laid out across the announce table. However, the Tribal Chief was able to get up and stop Punk before he could do it. This left Punk draping from the top rope outside of the ring with the blood rushing to his head, allowing Roman Reigns to absolutely go to town and lay into him with right hands. Whilst Punk was still hanging there, Roman smashed him in the face with steel steps, and for some reason the referee didn't call for a disqualification. This was a little bit bizarre, and I guess in kayfabe, of course, there's the referee's discretion, and it would take a brave man to call it disqualification in a WrestleMania main event of this magnitude, but there was a small part of me that thought maybe this is a corporate thing because The Rock is on the TKO board and maybe we're going to go in that direction, but you'll find out what happened. Punk was then plunged through the announce table with a strong powerbomb before Roman rolled him into the ring and went for a spear, although Punk was able to quickly pick up Roman and nail him with a GTS, although Roman did get his shoulder up. Shortly afterwards, Roman was able to land a spear, but Punk kicked out to Roman's sheer disbelief. There was then a great couple of sequences which saw Roman Reigns lock in the guillotine and CM Punk lock in the Anaconda Vice, both men showing pure desperation while stuck in these submission holds, trying their best to get to the ropes or reverse them in any way that they can. At this point, both men were running on fumes, and it was genuinely really difficult to tell which way this match was going to swing, and it saw CM Punk remove the tape from his hand, throw it at Roman Reigns' chest, and as it landed on the floor, the referee went to pick it up, and Punk low-blowed Roman right between the legs, lifted him up for a GTS, which he did hit, but Roman Reigns was yet again able to kick out at what felt like 2.999999. Getting more and more desperate, CM Punk set up Roman Reigns on the announce table and leapt off the top rope, clattering through the announce table with an elbow drop, before eventually putting Roman Reigns back into the ring and hitting him with a GTS, which saw Roman actually bounce off the second rope and land back on Punk's shoulders. They were both completely exhausted, but as CM Punk stood up to try and deliver a second GTS, He just collapsed. His body could not take it. Roman bounced back and landed a spear, but he was also unable to capitalise. But a few moments later, we saw him dig up every last ounce of energy that he had left in his body as he bounced off the rope a couple of times and split CM Punk in half with another spear to get the 3 count, win the match, and become our brand new World Heavyweight Champion. What a freaking match this was. This was an absolute all-timer. Roman Reigns and CM Punk here have delivered what will go on to become a classic WrestleMania main event that's going to be fondly remembered for years and years to come. These two told such an excellent story in the ring, and this was everything that every good pro wrestling match should be. The match was given room to breathe, and it slowly built and built and built, and you could just see that these two absolutely hated each other, but they do have respect for each other deep down, as they were hitting each other with their best shots, but both men just refused to stay down. My only very minor gripe is that Roman really should have been disqualified for hitting Punk with the steel steps, but I'm just going to go with the fact the referee has discretion, which they always do. You can call it a bit of a cop-out, but it's true, and we have been reminded many times referees ultimately do have discretion, and it is the WrestleMania main event. It's the same way in which referees in football, or soccer as you guys call it in America, may be a bit more lenient with giving out yellow cards in big cup finals. And although I don't hate the massive interference spots that we've seen over the years, it has become a little bit of a trope with Triple H's booking, so it was really refreshing for this to just be completely clean. This was like a 30-minute plus match where two men just beat the living hell out of each other, told a fantastic story both in and out of the ring, and now we have a brand new World Heavyweight Champion. And because of the manner in which this went down, we can always revisit this at some point in the future if we want to. There is no world in which Roman Reigns can brag that he completely smashed CM Punk, because he didn't. Yeah, he got the win in a very brutal match that could have gone either way. So it's clear that these two have got a huge amount of respect for each other, and if WWE ever do want to revisit this at some point in the future, which I imagine they will, with Punk trying to reclaim his World Heavyweight Championship, that option is always there. This match was absolutely awesome, and definitely one of the best WrestleMania matches I've seen since returning to watching pro wrestling in 2018. This was a correct prediction from me, which takes my final score for WrestleMania Sunday to 4 out of 6, which I believe means my overall predictions for the entirety of WrestleMania 42 was 8 out of 13. So not too shabby. A couple I probably should have got right, but decent enough. So what are my final thoughts on WrestleMania 42 Sunday? Well, this was considerably better than night one and actually saved the show overall for me personally. The first two matches were absolutely excellent, the second of which surpassed my already very high expectations. The only low part of the evening for me from an in-ring perspective was Sami Zayn versus Trick Williams, and not because it was bad or that it was worked badly, but again it just felt short, and then it wouldn't have felt out of place on the night one card where we saw a lot of short matches that really should have been given more time. We did get more of the incessant Hulk Hogan documentary clips. At this point I feel like I've watched the entire freaking documentary because I've seen that much promotion for it. But this isn't surprising, as this is exactly what we got in night one, and I've already made my feelings about this very clear. Aside from that, it was a great evening of wrestling that was topped off with an absolutely incredible match between Roman Reigns and CM Punk. What I think WrestleMania 42 lacked across it overall is engagement. There weren't any badly worked matches, but there was a distinct lack of reason to care for many of them. Roman versus Punk, however, offered this in spades and was everything that a professional wrestling match should be. I really cannot explain how great this was, and I'm really glad that WrestleMania 42 closed with this match, because that is the definition of sending your crowd home happy. Brock vs Oba was always going to be a short affair, so I'm not going to count that one, but there were too many matches on the show overall that just felt too short, and I felt bad for the performers because they simply weren't given enough time to tell a proper story or showcase their talents. I'm all for a two-night WrestleMania if it means we're going to get two full shows, but what it felt like this year is we actually got one big show that was split into two, if you know what I'm talking about. I know it's the same show, it's WrestleMania, but normally it feels like two distinct cards, proper wrestling shows, whereas this felt like one big wrestling show that had been split in half, so we got half the wrestling on both nights and just got absolutely bombarded by bloody adverts. The quality of the matches was very good. There wasn't a single bad work match on this WrestleMania. However, the poor build really hurt the show, as it caused me to have a lack of personal engagement in the majority of the matches that we saw over the weekend. But thankfully it was topped off by what many will consider a 5-star professional wrestling match, so well done to Roman Reigns and CM Punk for essentially saving WrestleMania 42. My suggestions for WrestleMania 43 next year are less adverts, longer matches, focus more on the build going towards WrestleMania to ensure that everybody's engaged and understands the stories, and please reintroduce promo packages before every single match. This is when you have the biggest audience of the year, theoretically, and the most casuals eyes on the product. You need to make sure that people understand why these people are fighting. So that'll do it from me. It was certainly a roller coaster of a weekend with WrestleMania 42 this year. If you want to see my thoughts in depth on night one, then you can check out my WWE PLE Recap video for that one as well. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've been able to share a lot more of my thoughts, opinions and analysis in this than I typically do in some of my other videos. So please do let me know in the comments section below what you thought of WrestleMania. Do you share the same opinions as me? Do you have the same gripes as me? Or maybe it's just personal to me. Maybe some of these things are just little issues that I've got and you weren't bothered at all. Although some of the gripes I've described I have seen online, I equally have seen people as well saying, you know what, I don't really care about the adverts, the actual wrestling was entertaining and it was a good show. Whatever your thoughts and feelings may be, please do let me know in the comments section down below and let me know what you thought of this video, because I do WWE PLE recap videos after every single main roster PLE. So if you've got any suggestions for improvements or things you'd like me to talk about in these videos, please do let me know. I'm going to take every single suggestion on board. Thank you guys for watching. Just before I go, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel, and if you did enjoy this video, maybe check out some of my other content. I'm doing a monthly series where I review all of my WWE replica belts, of which at the moment I have 16, so that's going to be a monthly series that I'm doing for over a year. And I've got some really other cool ad hoc videos, such as me talking about my experience where I was privileged and lucky enough to be able to go to John Cena's final ever match in Washington DC. I've got an unboxing video of the US Championship spinner replica, which I got fairly recently. And I'm going to be launching a new monthly series in the relatively near future where I do some online pro wrestling quizzes. So if any of that sounds good, please subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for notifications and check out all of my current and future content. But that's enough of me yapping. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in, and until next time, see you later.